This week, what happens when home prices continue to outpace local area incomes, and how could this impact home prices? We're going to dig into all those questions right after a short message from our sponsor.
Building relationships is the way Mutual of Omaha has grown into one of the leading financial services companies in the world. Our reverse mortgage wholesale division is proud to carry on this 100-plus year tradition. To your borrowers, a reverse mortgage is more than a transaction. It's a promise of a better, more stress-free life. Our goal is to provide you, our valued client, with the best service and support possible so you can focus on helping your borrowers achieve the retirement of their dreams.
Welcome back, and thank you for joining us. It was just over 18 years ago, back in 2006, when the U.S. housing market reached a fever pitch. Then it all came crashing down. Fueled by speculation, risky subprime loans, and the collapse of mortgage-backed securities, the U.S. housing market imploded. A domino effect ensued, with borrowers defaulting, over-leveraged investment banks collapsing, and a freeze on most consumer credit and lending. It wasn't just a real estate crisis. It nearly took down the entire U.S. economy. Home prices fell as much by 35% nationwide, and even more in states like California, Florida, and Nevada, where some areas saw values plunge 40 to 50%. The common thread? Loans with little oversight, skyrocketing home prices, and income levels that just couldn't keep up. And each state had its own mix of risky subprime, adjustable, and those no-doc liar loans. That's where an applicant could simply fabricate their income and expenses without any verification. And what followed was a downward spiral, as more foreclosed homes triggered those that were underwater to simply walk away and turn in their keys. And that further inflated housing inventory. So why am I bringing this up today? Because some market watchers, such as myself, are beginning to see some very troubling signs. And let me be clear, I want to be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Mortgage professionals, traditional and reverse, are also hoping the same. Nobody wants to see a borrower's hard-earned equity vanish, or fewer qualified borrowers. But before we continue, I want to thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing to these videos. It really does help our YouTube channel. And if you would consider also subscribing to HeckhamWorld.com, that's where you're going to find all of the latest reverse mortgage commentary and analysis. So here's a concern. After adjusting for inflation, home prices today are about 12% higher than they were at the peak of the 2006 bubble. And that alone doesn't guarantee a crash, but it does suggest that we may be in dangerous territory again. And remember, when the last bubble burst, it took 6 years for prices to bottom out and 14 years to fully recover in real dollars. Now, for those who bought a home in 2022, that should be a sobering thought. Even more concerning is that the signs of a housing bubble are becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. In 2013, 4 years after the housing crash began, Harvard's Joint Center for Housing Study began to assess the crash and found that the national price-to-income ratios were in fact skewed in the years leading up to the collapse in home values. Fast forward 11 years, and the center is again sounding the alarm, finding that the median sales price of single-family homes in 2022 was 5.6 times higher than the median household income, exceeding the level seen in 2006, shortly before the crash. According to Housing Wire, around $700 billion in home equity is currently trapped, locked away, and with mortgage rates now hovering around 7%, that's significantly higher than the 3% rates that we had during the pandemic buying frenzy. Consequently, many homeowners, they feel stuck. They're unable to refinance or sell without taking a big financial hit. This and job market uncertainty have left many determined just to hold fast. While tapping into that equity is going to be a challenge, especially for younger homeowners, older homeowners, they may have an option, a reverse mortgage, and that can give them access to funds without the burden of required monthly payments. So are we headed for another housing crash? The jury's still out, but the red flags, they continue to stack up. So we're going to be watching, and we'll keep you informed every step of the way. Be sure to leave a comment before you go in the comment section below, and share this video on LinkedIn if you would. As I mentioned earlier, we have a YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe. That way you always keep track of our latest content. And each and every week, our podcast, Heckham World Weekly, we curate the most recent and relevant reverse mortgage news. We have both a video and an audio edition. Listeners can listen and subscribe on Apple Music and Spotify. Thank you so much for joining us, and be sure to return next week for more Reverse mortgage news, commentary, and analysis you're only going to find right here at Hackett World. Have a great week.